Apologies flood your inbox, excuses are made, and promises of change are whispered with urgency. But you've seen this cycle before. It's the same routine. Hurt, apologize, repeat, and this time you refuse to play along because you finally recognize something important. Change isn't about words, it's about actions, and their actions have already spoken loud and clear. They didn't care when they had you. They only care now that they lost you. But here's the truth. They don't miss you. They miss what you did for them. They miss the validation, the security, the comfort of knowing someone cared. They don't miss your heart. They miss the way you made them feel about themselves. And that's not love. That's convenience. When you walked away, you took back your energy, your kindness, your peace. And now they have to sit with the reality that you're no longer available to save them from themselves. It's almost predictable at this point. The moment they feel your absence, they go into damage control mode. They try everything, guilt tripping, playing the victim, even acting like they've suddenly changed overnight. But you see through it now, because if they truly valued you, they wouldn't have waited until you walked away to show it. Real change doesn't come from fear of losing someone. It comes from genuine self-awareness. And the truth is, they don't regret what they did. They regret the consequences. They regret losing the version of you that was always willing to try, to fix, to understand. But what they don't realize is that that version of you no longer exists. You're not the same person who tolerated the bare minimum. You're not the same person who ignored the red flags. And you're definitely not the same person who stays where they're not valued. This time, you're standing firm. No second chances. No more excuses. No more falling for words without actions. And as much as they try to convince you that they've changed, you know the truth. If they really cared, they wouldn't have put you in a position where you had to walk away in the first place. At first, they thought they could replace you. They convinced themselves that they could just move on, find someone else, fill the void you left behind. But the thing is, you weren't just anybody. You were unique. You were the person who showed up, who cared deeply, who gave without expecting anything in return. And now, no matter where they go, no matter who they meet, something is missing. Conversations feel emptier. Interactions lack depth. The kind of loyalty and authenticity you brought into their life isn't something they can just find anywhere. And that's when it hits them. You weren't just someone passing through. You were irreplaceable. They start reminiscing about the little things, the way you listened without judgment, the way you made them feel safe, the way you always put effort into the relationship. And suddenly they realize that what they lost wasn't just a person, but a connection that can't be replicated. But here's the harsh truth. They had every chance to keep you, and they didn't. And now they have to live with the reality of a life without you in it. While they're stuck in regret, you're thriving. See, walking away wasn't just about leaving them, it was about choosing yourself. And now you're discovering what life looks like without the weight of their negativity, without the constant emotional drain, without the need to prove your worth to someone who never truly saw it. You're healing, growing, evolving. Your energy is no longer wasted on fixing someone who refused to change. Instead, it's being poured into yourself, your goals, your peace, your happiness. And the best part, you're realizing that leaving wasn't the loss you once feared. It was the best decision you could have made, because now, for the first time in a long time, you feel free. Free from the doubt they planted in your mind. Free from the cycles of disappointment. Free to build a life that is centered around your worth, not their validation. And as you step into this new version of yourself, something incredible happens. They notice. They see the glow, the confidence, the undeniable proof that you never needed them to be happy. And that stings more than anything. Because while they expected you to fall apart, you proved them wrong. You didn't just survive without them, you thrived. Desperation is a funny thing. Just when they think they've lost you for good, they make one final attempt to pull you back. Maybe it's a long emotional message. Maybe they show up unexpectedly. Maybe they use nostalgia, reminding you of the good times, hoping you'll forget the bad. But here's what they don't understand. You've outgrown them. You've outgrown the version of yourself that tolerated their inconsistency. You've outgrown the need to seek closure from someone who never gave you clarity when it mattered. And most importantly, you've outgrown the idea that you need them to feel whole. So this time, their words, the guilt trips don't land, the manipulation falls flat, because you're no longer operating from a place of loneliness or fear. You're operating from strength. And the person who once had the power to shake you with a single message is now just another lesson in your journey. They can beg, they can reminisce, they can swear they've changed, but you've already seen the truth. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. There's power in finality, in knowing that you're not just walking away, you're closing the door, locking it, and throwing away the key, not out of anger, not out of revenge, but out of respect for yourself, because you finally understand that walking away wasn't about them losing you, it was about you finding yourself. And now you're done explaining, done waiting for them to realize what they had. You don't need their validation, their apologies, or their last-minute efforts. You've made peace with the past, and more importantly, you've made space for a future that aligns with your worth. And while they sit in regret, wondering how they lost you're walking into a life that's finally yours, a life built on self-respect, growth, and genuine happiness. Because the truth is, they never expected you to walk away, but you did. And that was the best decision you ever made. They never thought you'd actually do it. They never believed you'd have the strength to walk away, but you did. And now they're left speechless, wondering how they lost the one person they thought would always stay. See, people take you for granted when they assume you'll always be there. They push boundaries, cross lines, and expect forgiveness on repeat. They assume their actions won't have consequences because, in their mind, you're not someone who leaves. You're someone who stays, no matter how much they hurt you. But one day, something inside you shifted. One day, you woke up and realized that you were done explaining yourself, done waiting for them to change, and done accepting less than you deserve. And the moment you walked away, everything changed. They didn't expect it. They thought they had you figured out. They thought you'd always be the one to compromise, to bend, to fix things. But this time you chose yourself. And now they're the ones left behind, drowning in the silence you once filled. Walking away, it takes strength to cut ties with people who once meant the world to you. But at some point, you realize that staying in a situation that drains you is far worse than the pain of leaving. And when you finally leave, the power dynamic shifts. Suddenly, they're forced to face the reality of losing you, a reality they never prepared for, because deep down, they always assumed you'd stay. At first, they didn't take it seriously. They thought it was just a phase, that you were acting out, that you'd come back like you always did. But then the silence grew louder. Their calls went unanswered. Their messages sat on read. And for the first time, they felt something they never expected: regret. Because they didn't just lose you, they lost access to you. No more late-night venting sessions where they dump their problems onto you without ever asking about yours. No more empty apologies followed by the same toxic behavior. No more emotional safety net. No more second chances. See, people don't realize the weight of your presence until it's gone. When you finally walk away, they're forced to sit with the version of themselves that you no longer tolerate. And that's a reality most people aren't ready to face. They start to replay every moment, every time they ignored your needs, every time they dismissed your feelings, and suddenly they see it clearly. They pushed you away. But now, it's too late, because the person they took for granted is no longer available. And the saddest part, they did it to themselves. The moment they realized they lost you was the moment they understood that you were never the problem. The problem was them thinking you'd never leave. Silence is louder than words, and when you walked away, that silence hit them harder than they ever expected. See, they were used to your energy, your attention, your effort. They were used to you always being the one to reach out, to fix things, to make excuses for their behavior. But now, there's nothing, no texts, no explanations, no desperate attempts to mend what's already broken. And that silence, it's deafening. Because when someone is truly done, they don't argue, they don't explain, they don't beg to be understood. They just leave. And that's what makes it so powerful. The absence of your voice, your presence, your care, it creates a void they never saw coming. They start questioning everything. Did they push too far? Were they really that blind to what they had? And for the first time, they have to sit in the mess they created without you there to clean it up. That's when it hits them. You weren't just another person in their life. You were a gift they lost because they were too careless to hold on to it. And the longer the silence stretches, the clearer it becomes. You're not coming back. Regret has a way of creeping in when it's too late. At first, they might have brushed off your absence, convinced you'd return like you always did, but as days turn into weeks, something shifts. They start noticing the emptiness. The things they once took for granted, your kindness, your loyalty, your unwavering support, are now missing. And that's when it starts to hurt. Because the truth is, they never expected to miss you this much. They thought you'd always be an option, always be the one to understand, to forgive, to be there. But now, they are forced to confront the harsh reality of their choices. They replay every conversation, every moment they dismissed your feelings, every time they should have fought for you but didn't. And with every memory, the regret grows stronger. Why didn't I listen? Why didn't I appreciate them when I had the chance? But regret is powerless without action. And the problem is, they no longer have access to you. They want to reach out to fix things, to undo the damage, but deep down they know the truth. They know they pushed you too far, and now there's no way back. And that's when they finally understand the cost of losing someone who only ever wanted the best for them. Desperation makes people do strange things. When they realize you're really gone, when they feel the weight of your absence, they scramble to pull you back. Suddenly, the same person who ignored your needs, who made you feel unseen and unappreciated, is now reaching out.